All right. So, welcome everyone. This is Living with Audacity and I am so excited to be here. This has been a long time coming, I'll be honest. So today I'm going to kind of share my journey. So not only am I going to just give a little bit about what Living with Audacity is, what this podcast is going to be like, the vibe that I'm coming with, which is always a vibe. But I want to give a little bit of like how I got here because unlike Beyonce, I did not just wake up like this. It has been a process. It has been a journey. As you know, I started Me to Health a little over 6 years ago. So April 19th will be my 6-year anniversary of entrepreneurship and business ownership. And I will say where I thought I was going to be at this point 6 years ago, it has absolutely evolved. And while I think I entered into this space with the whole idea that my whole purpose, my power was to empower people to live audaciously, to live authentically and unapologetically, I really didn't think about how this process was going to change me, how I was going to show up differently, how I was going to start to come to a place where I was unbothered and unruffled by whether it was societal expectations or assumptions or limited beliefs about who I needed to be and how I needed to show up, right? And certainly as I wear many hats, I work full time, I run a business, I'm a mom of 3 kids, I'm a wife, I'm a daughter-in-law, I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm a cousin, like I'm all of these things. But I will say, and you're going to hear me say this podcast after podcast after podcast after podcast, that I am me first, that I hold myself in high regard. I adore myself. I love myself. And I say that with intention. And I know it's something that we don't always say comfortably. But again, to live with audacity is to be in a place where you are affirmed and confirmed and living boldly and fearlessly. But I could tell you it has not come without work, without hardship. I also want to share the fact that this is not perfection by any means, that I continue to grow and evolve. But what I'm hoping out of this podcast, that, whatever I share is coming from a place of experience. There's an element of expertise in it, but it really is just sharing my journey, and hopefully that you can be inspired to slowly step into your purpose, to slowly step into your power, to understand. And this is a line that you're going to hear me saying if you've ever done my workshop or any of my workshops, or if you follow me on Instagram at me2more.health, what you will know is that I say, no one is responsible for cueing you into your greatness. And so this is what this podcast is all about. It is about how you're going to step into your greatness boldly, fearlessly, authentically, unapologetically. So hopefully you're here for this journey with me as I share, as I said, what it means to live with audacity. And there will be topics. It's not just going to be me for 30 minutes or 20 minutes just talking. There is some fundamental principles that I want to share with you that I'm going to be pulling from workshops that I do, facilitations that I do. But as I said, this really, I want this to be a podcast that you listen to, that you feel when you're done, because it is something that I really believe in. That when you're done listening, that you're like, you know what? Again, I know there's limits. I know there's expectations. I know there's systems and structures that are in place that are telling me how I'm supposed to be, how I'm supposed to show up, what I'm supposed to do. But that's for them. And I am here on my own journey. So this is what this is going to look like on Living with Audacity. So a little background about me, if you don't know. I am a born and raised Montrealer. I am du Québec. Je garde mon français. I have maintained my French wholeheartedly. And it's so funny because when I lived in Montreal, I would have said that I've always been prideful, but I realized as I live in Ontario, I have children who are Torontonians, who are Ontarians, that I have held on to my roots as a Montrealer. So born and raised in Montreal. I have a younger brother. I'm going to do a plug for him at Audaci-T.E.A. She's an incredible creator, has an incredible clothing line. Please make sure you follow him. But yeah, born and raised in Montreal, lived my whole life there, moved to Toronto 2022, in 2002, a little bit after university. And I come from a household of incredible parents who, from the time that I can remember, instilled this sense of pride, of self-awareness around just who we are. So understanding that, again, there were people, places, and things that weren't going to like us for a number of reasons, whether it was, connected to being a woman or being Black or whatever that was. But it was a household where my parents instilled such a level of pride for my brother and I that it wasn't that we were ignorant to what was around us. It didn't impact us. It didn't matter to us. And so I've kind of always lived myself with that fundamental understanding that it wasn't for anyone to shape who I was. It was for me to be aware of who I was. So I am definitely grateful that I had parents who didn't just preach it, but also lived that way themselves. And certainly, as I said, in what was accepted, in the value base, in the beliefs that they had, that was always maintained. So I would say by all accords, I was, I think I could say it now, I was probably a very sheltered child, and sheltered in the sense that, grew up in the suburbs of Dollard. Again, I didn't, live in a white picket fence, but like beautiful home, loving parents, an incredible family. I went to an all-girls Catholic private high school. I didn't take the bus till I was 16, just because my father's practice was down the street. But yeah, I just feel like I lived in this like cute bubble. And then I moved to Toronto in 2002 for work. I started out actually as a child advocate working in a women's shelter. And I'm going to tell you, you want to talk about a reality check. You want to talk about what it is to come to a very powerful reality about what life was going to be. And I say that from a perspective of just being exposed to community, being exposed to life. That was it wholeheartedly. And so I came in green, ready to do incredible work. As I said, I was working with women and children that were fleeing domestic violence. And what an eye-opener. I would say that was probably the first, I'm going to say in this journey, there have been a few moments in my life where I have realized my greater purpose, my power, but also what it meant to live boldly, what it meant to be fearlessly. And I would say that was probably the first one. Because as I said, I came from an environment that was sheltered, that was loving. And then I moved to Toronto, which was so different to the community that I grew up in. And I got checked hard, like hard in a way where I had to realize that, I had to realize that I needed to show up differently, that the cutesy, all girls high school, like life is great, wasn't applicable to everyone. And it was something that I had to, I had to do a lot of deep self-awareness. And so did that for a number of years. And then I entered into what I would deem the corporate world. So I work for a local government. And so it was a big switch from coming from like grassroots community into a corporate space where I would say for the first time, I realized that I was different. And when I say different, I mean, I was a young Black woman in an environment that was predominantly white males. That I probably didn't realize prior to that. I will say not that I was treated poorly, but it was just, there's situations in life where you realize, what do they say? This ain't Kansas anymore. This wasn't Kansas anymore. And so I will say the journey of Audacity, the journey of self-awareness initiated in that space. And this might be a story, or something that resonates with many of you that, we enter into a workplace and certainly we want to demonstrate our skill set. We want to show how great we are, that we bring value. And in that, we sometimes have a tendency to show up in ways that aren't authentic to who we are because we're focused more on the acceptance and demonstrating value than we are at being our authentic self, because being our authentic self, and I will speak from the perspective of a Black woman, is not always received as authentic. It's received as something else. And so I spent many years that I wasted I know this is not a word, but I'm going to use it. Chameleonizing myself so that I could be what other people needed me to be, so that I could demonstrate my worth. I could show that I was a hard worker, all the things, right? What do we do? We take extra hours, we take extra projects, we go above and beyond on a continuum, most of the time to our detriment. Certainly that was to my detriment, in hopes that a next opportunity or an opportunity would present itself. And I would learn a really, really hard lesson that all of that extra hard work, all of that demonstration of commitment resulted in a lovely pep talk that said, even though you were doing a job for X amount of years and demonstrated skill set and knowledge, you weren't quite ready for the next step. And I will tell you, if I was devastated. I'll be honest. I was devastated. I was angry. I was hurt because I thought, what more could I do? What more could I have done to demonstrate that I was ready to take on this new level? What else course at that point? I had a bachelor's. I had certifications. I had it all, what I deemed to be had it all, but it wasn't quite enough. And what I will tell you is that while that moment was the hardest moment of my life, I would say at that point, it was the catalyst for the version that you see before you today. Because it was at that moment, and I'm going to tell you, it took a big shout out to my mother and father who coached and counseled me, and my husband who really supported me through that process, and my best friend, that I was now going to relinquish the need to prove to others that I was ready, that I was worthy, that I had value. And maybe, you share the same sentiment that there's moments in your life where you take a step back, where you've gotten through it and you think, even though it was hard, I needed it to happen. Because I was operating in this mindset of like, everything is good. Everyone thinks I'm great. Everyone sees the amazing things that I'm doing. So naturally, the next level is going to happen. And it didn't happen. And I actually needed that to happen because I had put faith, I had put value, I had put my worth in other people's perspective and value of me. And what I realized, and this is going to be, so throughout this podcast, I'm going to be doing some gem dropping. And this is a big gem for me, in that we have to realize that if someone is operating with a limited mindset about you, that they will never see themselves better than you. And so we often will use other people's measuring stick to determine our worth, when in fact, their maximum view of you, their maximum assumption around what your capacity is actually your baseline. And that's what I was doing. I was using somebody else's limited mindset around what my capabilities were to determine my success. And when it didn't pan out, and when I came to that realization, I will tell you, it was almost like this act of emancipation. Like I was freed. I was freed from this bondage that I had placed myself in for years. When I say years, I mean years, years of feeling like I was only ready to move forward or to, get a promotion when somebody else said I was ready. And the moment I let that go was the birth of me-to-moi, truly, because I had now freed myself of the time that I was spending proving to people that I was great, and was now going to actively step into my purpose and power, which was to empower people to let go of, again, other people's expectation and step into your own greatness. And so this place of living with audacity, this podcast, is a little bit of like me being able to finally tell my story, and not like anyone was ever holding me back from telling my story, but I mean like just me being in a place where I am so affirmed and confirmed in who I am, that even those who watch this podcast who might feel differently, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me. I am unruffled and unbothered by who people thought I needed to be, how I needed to show up, how I was supposed to look, how I was supposed to talk, all of those things. And so I hope that in this podcast, this Living with Audacity, that if you are in a place and space where you know you are not desiring or deserving to be behind the scenes, to be in that dim light, that this is the source of energy that I'm going to give you to slowly come out of the shadows and step into the light. Fully step into the light. And it's scary. Let me again just say this. I did not just wake up like this. This version of Aisha that you see on your screen wasn't always. But I am here now, and I am here to bring this transformative energy, and this is my energy all day long, like all day, every day, to you, as I said, in hopes of you understanding that no one is responsible for cueing you into your journey. No one is responsible for cueing you into your greatness. That is for you. That is for you to determine how, when, where. And you will have naysayers. I think sometimes I'll be honest, we need naysayers. We need people to kind of put up a roadblock, because if life is linear, then we also don't learn lessons. We need the challenges. We need the hardship. We need the people to be like, really? This is what you're going to do? Because if you're committed to yourself, if you're committed to your growth, if you're committed to elevation, then you want to demonstrate to those naysayers who think you shouldn't be doing it, or that you're not ready for it, or that it's not your time. In fact, I am. So you're either going to join me on this journey, or you're going to stand on the sidelines and hate, or eventually love. But Living with Audacity is committed. I am committed to helping people live boldly, to live fearlessly, and as I said, to live unapologetically. And that by no means that we're going to live life linear. I always say life is more like a 3-year-old trying to stay in the lines. It is all of this. It's the chaos, but it is what is outside of that beautiful picture where you really come to understand your strength and your power and your gifts. And that living boldly and that living fearlessly is kind of I'll say it's the secondary bonus, right? Because you can't live boldly unless you're willing to also undo, unlearn, unpack the narrative and the mindset that has been keeping you behind the scenes, right? As I said, if you've done a workshop with me, if you've done any level of facilitation, one-to-one coaching, I always say I will lovingly push you out of your comfort zone. And I understand why we stay in comfort zones, because it's comfortable, it's safe, right? But do we learn in those spaces? Maybe a little bit, but we also have a tendency to stay stuck, right? Living with Audacity, I am here to maybe not pull the rug from under you, because that's not safe, but I'm here to inch it lovingly from under you to see what truly exists within you. And it's scary. I still have moments where I'm like, ugh. I don't know if I should go down this route or go down this path. But as I said, who would have thought 6 years, from starting Me to Moi, that I'd be sitting here doing a podcast. Oh, my phone almost fell. That I would, be doing a podcast, that I would be doing workshops, that I would be, having the opportunity to speak to people, to connect with people, to empower people, to, step out and have someone say like, Aisha, I saw one of your Instagram posts, or I saw a workshop, or I participated, and I want to thank you for what you've said. I want to thank you for what you've shared. I want to thank you for what you have brought to the table to and for me. And so I'm here. I'm going to be here in my cuteness and my big hoop earrings and my fedora with a different glass every week, helping you, empowering you, encouraging you to live with audacity. That is my vibe. I might even come with a little song. Stay tuned. I'm not a singer. I don't have a nice voice. I think I do, but then I really hear myself, or I record myself and I'm like, girl, you should not be singing. Anyways, we're off topic. But I am here to bring full-fledged energy, inspiration, empowerment, encouragement around living with audacity. Because that's the gift. You know what? I also just need to tell you about the part about living with audacity. It also is about being comfortable with our gifts. Every single one of us, everyone who's listening, everyone who's going to listen, anyone who follows me, we all have a gift. We all have something to offer. And sometimes we aren't comfortable in that space because we feel like we're showing out or we're showing off. Guess what? Show up, show out, show off. You've been given a gift. You've been given purpose. You've been given power. Use it. Demonstrate it. Because I guarantee you will inspire somebody. As I said, to live with audacity doesn't mean that you are audacious enough where you're disrespecting, being unkind. Absolutely not. That's not the vibes. But living with audacity means that I am going to stand firm and confirmed in who I am, that I am confident about what I bring to the table, that I am going to show up in a way that maybe it might ruffle your feathers, that you might be uncomfortable with what I'm saying or sharing or how I'm showing up in light. But that's for you to reconcile. It's not for me to now diminish myself to make you comfortable. And as I said, I can say that now because I was on the other side. I was the girl that used to sit quietly and demure so that other people didn't feel like I was being too out there, right? I would hear it all the time, like, Aisha, you're so loud. Like, tone down, like, what you say, tone down how you dress, like you're a lot. And I used to because I thought, okay, maybe I'm making other people uncomfortable. Guess what? Be uncomfortable. Stay uncomfortable. This is me. This is me in its full-fledged. This is how I mother. This is how I wife. This is how I work. This is how I business. Like, this is me. And if I'm not for you, that's okay. Because that's also another part about living with audacity is understanding that we are not for everyone. And something that I had to realize is that I actually don't want to be for everyone, because for me to be for everyone would mean that I'm not being authentic. It would mean that I am doing what I used to do, which is chameleonizing myself and shape shifting so that every single person was comfortable with who I am. I cannot be for everyone. I can't be. There might be some of you that are on this podcast that are like, nope, she is not for me. That's cool. Thank you for spending the 3, 10, 15 minutes with me. That's okay. I am who I'm supposed to be for. I'm here to inspire those who are desiring to be inspired by someone who has this level of energy, who's sharing the things that she's sharing. And there's some who will, again, shut it off and move on. And that's fine. That's fine. I am okay with that because I don't desire to be for everyone, because it means I'm going back to a place where I needed and tried to be everything to everyone. And all that it resulted in was burnout. It resulted in burnout in a way that I wasn't the mother that my children needed to be. I was not the wife that my husband deserved. I was not the coworker that I should have been, or the friend. I was not, and I can take a step back and recognize that that's who I was, and I will never allow myself to go back into that place. And so, yeah, living with audacity, guys. If you are here to just, again, step into your purpose and power, this is it. If you are ready to emancipate yourself from people, places, and things that you know in your heart and soul no longer serve you, this is it. If you are willing and in a place where you are looking to remove the tainted soil that is not growing the beautiful flowers that you desire, this is the podcast for you. If you are ready to just be great and step into that greatness and not be impacted or influenced by other people who maybe are not there quite yet in your journey, or where you're at in your journey, and you're just looking for a community, you're looking for someone to be like, get it, girl. Go out there. Wear that outfit. Say what you need to say. Step on that podcast. Get on that platform. I'm your girl. I am, somebody said one time, I'm like the number one hype. I am. You want someone to hype you up? I will hype you up. Get into my DMs. You need someone to share an incredible accomplishment that has happened? Get into my DMs and I will hype you up. That is what my purpose is. That's what living with audacity is about. It is about curating and creating a space for people to self-actualize, to self-discover, to become self-aware, to self-love, and ultimately live audaciously, whatever that means for you, right? My version of audacity will look very different to those who are listening. But when you're living boldly, when you're living fearlessly, there's just je ne sais quoi. There's something that is there's something that you feel. It's something that I see often when I do one-to-one coaching. It is so incredible to start coaching someone where they'll, like, I can see, they sit behind the screen and they're like this and they're quiet and, they say nice words and they say things that maybe they think I want to hear. And as we work together and as we evolve, I see it in their skin. I see it in their face. I see how they show up. I see how they talk. Like, I literally see the physical transformation when someone is unlearning and undoing the things that weren't serving them and that they're now bringing in these concepts and these principles of living boldly and fearlessly. It is such a privilege to watch. And while this is one way, like, I can't necessarily see people who are seeing me, you better believe that if you are on this journey with me, that if you're joining this podcast, that if you're making the steps and doing the things that you need to do, to live audaciously, let me see. I want to see that transformation. I want to hear that transformation. I want to feel that transformation. I want to know that you are committing to yourself in a way and in the same way that we often commit to others, right? Because we will put full-fledged energy and time into making sure people are good, that they're feeling themselves, that they're empowered. And we'll say, I'm not ready to do that for myself yet, or it's not time. Do you see my bombastic side eye? Do you see that? The slow blink? Let it go. Let it go. Because here's another gem drop for all of you. I want us to be mindful that we will have a tendency, right, to pour time and energy into others, hoping that they will also pour the same time and energy into us. Now, while it can happen, I am certainly not here to say I have incredible people in my life that make sure the light is always shining on me as I ensure that the light is shining on them. But what I want people to understand is that when we're giving in a way where we're giving and giving and giving, and we have made it seem that giving is the way we give energy, giving is the way that we ourselves bring joy to ourselves, don't wait for people to turn that energy onto you, right? We are responsible for shining the light on ourselves. We are responsible for bigging ourselves up. We are responsible for setting the context and the tone by which people can engage with us. So people who encounter me know you can't come left. I mean, you can. Let me take that back. Actually, people could do whatever they want. Like, I can't stop people from coming to me a type of way. But what I mean is you're going to know very quickly that I'm not here for it. Why? Because the respect that I have for myself, the love that I have for myself, the way in which I regard myself lets you know there's a minimum standard of which you need to approach me, right? That is what living audaciously looks like. That's what it means to live with audacity. It also means about setting boundaries. That's something that we're going to talk a lot about because that is a place of discomfort for many, right? I hear all the time, Aisha, if I set this boundary, if I say no, they're going to be upset. Okay, be upset. Be upset. You know what that means? It means they're going to second guess the next time they come and ask you for something, right? Again, I want to be clear, guys. This is not about just living in an isolated world at all. I'm not saying that. Help people, give to people, love people, support people. All I'm saying is make sure you put that same time and energy into yourself. We set the context and the tone by which people regard us. And if they see that we don't have regard for ourselves, that we don't love ourselves, that we're not willing to put time into ourselves, why are they? That's what it is to live with audacity. It really isn't this magic wand. I sometimes hear like, Aisha, okay, just like tell me what to do so that I can just appear like you and we're good to go. And I'm like, no, it's not that simple. It actually is intentional work. What I eat, how I sleep, the people I allow into my life, the boundaries that I set, where I say no, where I say yes, where I expel my energy, the people that I need to remove in my life, the things I need to stop doing, the things I need to bring in. Like it's work. It's work. Right? But the fundamental principle around living with audacity is that I love myself so much. I believe in who I am that I'm willing to put in that work. But as I said, my journey required me to realize that that energy that I'm bringing onto myself now was an energy that I was giving to others, that I was waiting for other people to say, okay, now it's time for you to tap into yourself. Now it's time to celebrate yourself. I celebrate myself every day. Every day that I get up and I work out and I make lunch and I make sure my kids are healthy and happy, I'm celebrating because I could choose to do the opposite, right? I could choose to do the opposite, but I'm committed to myself. I'm committed to making sure that I'm showing up in a way where the people around me are hopefully inspired, that my children, are pulling the energy that I'm giving to myself. Because really, people take our energy, right? They take our time. What I'm giving to people, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. What I'm giving to people is the energy that's overflowing. So rest assured, you're not pulling from the immediate source, right? You're not pulling from my immediate source of energy. What I give is what is overfloweth, right? What do they say? You cannot pour from an empty cup. This is actually not an empty cup, it's water. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give from an empty cup. I don't ever give from an empty cup. Everything that I do every single day is to make sure that my cup stays full. And what I have the ability and what I desire to give to people is what overfloweth. But that means that I have to do everything with intention. It means that I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, so that I can show up the way that I want to show up in all the roles that we play, right? We play multiple roles as I said, partners, as mothers, as caregivers, as workers, as entrepreneurs, that in every space is pulling energy. And we can be drained. Again, I'm by no means saying that there are not days that I'm like, I have had enough. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want anybody to ask me a question. I don't care. We all have those days. But when I get to that place, then it's telling me that I need again to tap back in, or that I need to refine some of the things that I'm doing because my cup is draining, right? This is not as much as it looks cute, this is not perfection by any means. It is work. It is work every day. But as I said, I'm committed to myself in a way because I no longer and will no longer go back to a place where I was before, right? So we're out here living with audacity, out here doing the thing, out here looking cute, just out here. And I'm excited that everyone's going to be joining me. I'm excited to be on the journey of living with audacity. I am excited to share principles. I'm excited to share my little gems. Again, what you take away from it, you take away from it. What you don't take away from it, right? If there's things also, I also want to say, I know again, this podcast is people just looking at me, but if there's things that you've done in your life, like if there's things that you've implemented that you want to share, if you want to say, hey, Aisha, have you ever thought about this? Or this is something that I did, or this is where I was struggling, and this is something that I decided to do, share it, right? I am constantly learning and growing and evolving. And I'm not who I am today without having learned a few lessons, without having been willing to accept lessons that have also been experienced by others. Please share them. I would love to know. This podcast also is not just going to be me solo. I look forward to welcoming guests who, in my opinion, are living audaciously, who have gone through various challenges and have come out on the other side just killing it. If there's people that you know, right, in your life, that you think are also deserving of being on this couch with me because they have demonstrated, and I have a long list of people, like, sorry to those who maybe don't like camera, you're going to be on camera. If I could get my bestie on a couch talking on camera, I can do anything, just so you know. That's also, in case you didn't know, there's another podcast because your girl don't do nothing small. But Steph and I, we're going to put a little pause on Living with Audacity for a second. I'm going to plug my other podcast that I'm doing with Steph, Bestie, Spilling Time from Tea. We've been talking about this forever. It's happening. It's actively happening. So also make sure you join us on that podcast because we're a vibe. You know this. But back to Living with Audacity. Yeah. So if there's people that you know who you think are deserving of being celebrated, right? That the light needs to be shine on them. Shine. I look at this. I have nobody to correct me. We're going to say shined on them. Probably not a word. My husband see this is going to be so mad. He's like, you need to do better. But please reach out to me, DM me, Aisha@meetomoa.com, meetomoa.health on Instagram. I really want to take the opportunity to celebrate those who are deserving to be celebrated. This is what this podcast is about. It's what it's going to be about. And I'm bursting at the seams. I know I'm looking calm. This is probably why I'm doing so much moving, but I'm bursting at the seams because I am stepping into 2025. This is not New Year, New Me. I know we talk a lot about that, but I struggle with New Year, New Me because I feel like New Me negates all the things that we've learned about ourselves over this journey. It is New Me, refined me. Refinement, as we know, is the art of getting better, and I'm just getting better with age. And so I am coming into this year, I'm coming into this podcast, as I said, with a desire to help people and inspire people to refine, to learn, to grow, to evolve, to just do all the things where, as I said, we're living boldly, we're living audaciously, and the ultimate is living unapologetically. So stay tuned. Your girl is coming in hot for 2025. So much more to share. I'm so excited to be on this journey with all of you. And I look forward because, again, this isn't the only thing I'm chefing up, just so you know. This is like item number 2 and 3 on a very long list of what 2025 is going to look like. So look out for me because your girl is going to be everywhere. Okay? See you next show. Bye, everyone.